Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Post, and this is the Persevered podcast. We talk about entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurs are really the ones to make and shake, do things different in the world, and they see the world differently, and we are so grateful for that. Today, my guest is Dr. Ricky Brown, and I am at your studio.
I know. Our little homemade studio here.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. Got the legit mics going, I figured I got to get myself some legit mics so I look like the real deal.
Yes. And we had you, so we met a month ago.
We did.
And we talked about plastic surgery. We talked about preparing for plastic surgery.
Yeah.
And I found you on TikTok. Because you're the real TikTok doc.
Yes, I am.
That's literally over 7 million followers.
Yeah, 7.8 million strong since the beginning. Yeah, everything's kind of crazy right now with the whole TikTok ban talk. And it's sad because it is such a great platform and I really do enjoy it. And it's been a great place outside of some of the other social media platforms. So I hope it stays.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. And if there's some regulation or something around, I didn't listen to the hearings yesterday, did you?
I did. I watched it a little bit. It's really kind of sad. It's pathetic. It seems like grandstanding, and it's like everyone from the Congress standpoint, they're all older people who don't do a lot of social media. Mm-hmm. The questions were so all over the place. It was like, does the TikTok app connect to Wi-Fi or to your home Wi-Fi?
You're like,
how do you determine the age of your users? He's like, we ask for their birth date. It was just, it didn't make any sense. And I understand the whole national security thing, but we all know, right? Like the other social media platforms that we use collect our data and use it. So I really feel like it was more of political grandstanding and they're just kind of distracting them than really they are worried about, national security.
Right. We should be worried about all of the technologies then. Because you're searching, like my husband said this morning, he said, I was just talking about building a shed, and then on my phone it started to tell me things about a shed. I never Googled anything.
Yeah. So they're listening, and that's, to me, that's the saddest part. I know this isn't what the podcast is all about, but the saddest part of the whole story is, if we're going to ban TikTok, we should just ban all apps on all phones because if you pick up a phone and you use it, you are susceptible to any and all information being shared and used. There's just no way around it.
I just wish it would crash after like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we can sit and be on it forever.
You can set it to do that.
And really?
Yeah, you can set the app to turn off after a certain amount of time.
Oh, that's funny that Lily's in the room right now. We should probably do
She's
that.
like, stop talking.
Yeah.
No, you literally have screen time on my phone.
But it's different than screen time. I think the apps have built-in abilities to shut it down if you want to.
Oh, just to crash.
Yeah.
Well, that actually leads me into productivity.
Yeah.
Because you have to be, you can't be sitting on TikTok. And I think that the difference of high caliber people and people that are, okay with getting by, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But you have made good use of your time.
I try to.
And what is that instilled from? Like, how is that?
Okay, so making the commitment to be an educator as well as comedian and whatever kind of content I make, if you decide that's something you enjoy and you like to do, which I do like to do, you have to figure out how to work it into your day. So Sam, my marketing and social media manager, will tell you, I'm in a room seeing a patient, then I'll run back here, get my ring light out, answer a few questions on Instagram stories, go see another patient, come back. Maybe I have a video teed up that I want to make a reaction to. So it is definitely constant grind.
Yeah.
And I still DIY it a lot myself. Like I edit all of my own videos. I still pull my content. Sam helps a lot with a lot of other things on our other channels. But I'm getting to that point and have been there for the past year where I'm like, if I want to next level my content, clean it up, make it even more educational, I kind of need someone to help me.
Yeah.
But I think where it comes from is just, I really enjoy being on social media, and a lot of people don't like doing it. I love it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
You're super good at it and very natural.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So that is a discipline that you're doing. Like in your brain, you're like, oh, I've got to go do that. That's just now has become routine.
Yep.
So I have so much respect for 2 board certifications, residency, fellowships. I mean, the amount of time that you put into becoming a surgeon, those are things that I'm curious. When you were 18, did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Were you a high-powered, very disciplined 18-year-old little Ricky Brown?
Completely opposite.
Really?
I'm actually doing career day at my boys' middle school next Thursday, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about is the path not always being traditional to do something you want to do. So without boring you with all of the details, I grew up around medicine in that my parents owned a computer company selling computers to medical practices. So I was always around doctors, but I was not a great student. I did not do great in school, in middle school and high school. I did well. I wasn't flunking, but I wasn't getting A's. So when I ended up going through high school, once I got to apply to colleges, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just went to the School of Communications at Syracuse. That's where I spent my first 2 years. And after 2 years there, I decided to transfer back to the University of Georgia. And the reason I didn't originally go there is I grew up in Atlanta. I was like, it's kind of an extension of high school.
Yes.
And I need to get away.
Yeah.
So I got away for a couple years. And then when I transferred back to Georgia, it wasn't until literally I would have been a senior 2 years into college at Georgia, about to graduate. I decided to go into business and maybe go work for my parents and their company, but it just didn't feel right. There was something that didn't feel right for me. So I was in the middle of studying for an economics exam, and I remember sitting at the library at the University of Georgia and just having a pushback moment and being like, I hate supply and demand curves. This is awful.
Yeah.
So I started exploring other things, and I'd always been a science-minded person.
Yeah.
And mind you, to that point in college, I only had a 2.6 GPA at that time.
Really?
Yeah, low GPA, right? So just realizing, now I realize, I didn't really have any desire to do anything. And so my focus wasn't school. It was I don't know, I'm just living. I don't know what I want to do. So when I had that pushback moment, I realized I need to decide what I want to do, and it was science-based. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sign up for a general chemistry class, just because. In the middle of taking all my business classes, I'm going to just go take chemistry and see how it goes. I got an A without even really working that hard.
Really?
It just jived with my brain. I was always a science-minded person. I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. So then I started thinking what should I do? Should I do something in healthcare? Could it be business health? Do I want to become a nurse or a PA? I don't know. So I got a job at the hospital in Athens, Georgia, transporting patients. So I started transporting patients. I would take them to ultrasound, take them back to their room, take them to surgery. And that led me to start engaging personally with patients, which I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I enjoy making a connection with people in that way. So fast forward, I decided to go to med school, and I literally mapped out what I needed to do, because I took a second round of chemistry and got an A again.
Wow. What about biochem?
A.
What?
So I basically mapped it all out. I decided, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to med school. I'm just going to become a doctor. I don't know what kind of doctor I want to be, but I'm going to go to med school. This is my journey. So I went in to sit with the med school advisor, and he laughed me out of the office. He was like, you're never going to get in. You have a 2.6 GPA. I don't know who you think you're kidding. And I was like, okay.
Now I'm really going to do it.
Exactly. Reason number one, the best way to get me to do something is to tell me that I can't do it. And legit, that was a big driving force for me. I was like, I'll show this guy. I've already decided I want to become a doctor, so I'm not going to let him telling me I can't do it stand in the way.
Sure.
So I mapped it all out, drove home to Atlanta, which is about an hour and a half from Athens, Georgia, sat down with my mom. We always go to our moms, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I sat down with my mom, and I was like, listen, I want to go to med school. But it wasn't just that. I was like, I got it all worked out. If I go the rest of this full year, full summer, another year, and then I may have one or two more classes to finish up, I'll study for the MCAT, take the MCAT, apply, and I should be able to matriculate if I get in.
Yeah.
She was like, go for it. You have my full support.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that was how the journey started. So no, I did not have a burning desire as a kid. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I think it's really an important message for kids if they see this to realize that, and I'm sure you would agree with me, it is impossible for a child to know what they want to do with the rest of their life, even at the collegiate level.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's my journey.
There's so much opportunity too.
Yeah.
And to be creative.
Yep.
And I love that you were like, well, let's get into, is it the sciences? And then you took your chemistry class.
It was soul searching. I mean, and I ended up getting a 3.8 GP average in all of my pre-meds.
Wow.
So, and that what that showed me was because you start to have self-doubt in yourself when you're not doing well in school. Am I dumb? What's wrong with me? All the things that probably a lot of us shoot through our brains. That just proved to me when I got A's in those classes, it was just about finding what worked for my brain.
Yeah.
And so then when I committed to becoming a doctor, I was all in on the whole process. So studying really hard, figuring out how to study. And look, nothing came natural and easy to me. I've always had to study 10 times harder than my friends to get the same grade.
Yeah.
But that's just my journey.
Same.
My journey was that I just have to study harder to learn the information.
And I have to read things like 3 or 4 times to really comprehend it.
Yeah.
Some people that like read it once, like, how do you do that?
Well, and even another crazy part of my story was I was in special ed classes in middle school,
Really?
high school.
That's like Lewis Howes. Do you listen to
Oh, was he in special ed classes?
Yeah, that's something that he talks a lot about. And I was talking with my other son last night about our middle son. In 5th grade, he didn't get put into advanced placement math. And I think for him, that was really detrimental because that was like his friends were put here, he saw his brother was put there, and then he was mainstream. And Will and I were talking about, well, why isn't just everything taught at a higher level? And then if you need, that's like special ed, then you have that.
Yeah.
Why isn't everyone, because he was labeled as, oh, well, now I'm normal. Like, I'll just be able to.
The whole normal, not normal thing, it's like we're all not normal.
Right.
I was labeled with a learning disability in reading comprehension. That was my problem. So where that stems from is crazy. I remember when I was probably 8 or 9 or 10, me and a kid down the street used to pick up a book and see who could read a paragraph the fastest. So I could read really fast, but I wasn't picking up what was in it. So that translated to school for me. I was always reading fast and not slowing down.
Yeah.
This didn't hit me until like 10 years later why I had reading comprehension issues. And it had nothing to do with intelligence.
Yes.
It was just the style with which I was reading, and I was reading fast.
Yeah.
So, but it's really interesting because being labeled with a quote learning disability could make you go one of 2 ways.
Yeah.
And for me, I just accepted that that's who I was for a long time. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, I'm not dumb.
Right.
I just don't really care about school. I'd rather be out on the playground or playing baseball.
You had energy.
Yeah, I had total boy energy.
Yeah. So fast forward now in your practice. How did you get into plastics? That's such a specialty.
Essentially what happened was when I ended up finishing the MCAT, I had a year off when I applied to med school because usually as a junior in college, you apply for med school and then you matriculate after your senior year. Well, I was in my last year of college. So I applied and I had a year off. So I moved back to Atlanta, and a family friend of ours was a plastic surgeon. That has nothing to do with why I went into plastics, but he was like, I can get you a job working in the operating room. And I was like, cool, that'd be fun.
Wow.
Just like mopping floors, cleaning up OR rooms. Sounds weird for you guys, but
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's medicine. It'd be cool. Like, I
Yeah.
would love to check out surgery. That's where I fell in love with surgery. So I would clean up rooms. And then when there were no rooms that were turning over, I'd kind of sneak into a room, and the surgeons all kind of knew I was friends with this doc, and they were like, yeah, come on in if you want to check out surgery anytime. And I'd kind of look over their shoulders, and I became fascinated with surgery.
Yes.
So when I finished medical school, still didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be a surgeon, so I applied for general surgery. So I started out in general surgery at Mount Sinai in Chicago, which was knife and gun club, crazy town. And did that for
Cook County?
Down the street. Mount Sinai was just down the street from Cook County, so probably within a mile of each other.
Oh my gosh, it's nuts.
It was insane. It was insane training.
Yeah.
It was insane stuff to see people go through, which was tough. But I learned a ton about critical care and trauma. And I was a trauma surgeon for 3 full years. It was 24/7, no work restrictions. We were working 24-hour shifts, and it was just nuts. It was knife and gun club. So I went to Northwestern between my 3rd and 4th year of general surgery training into a plastic surgery lab with a couple of friends of mine who I was like, I need a break. So they were like, come do research.
Yeah.
So I went into a scar and wound healing lab, which is where I get a lot of my knowledge from scars and wound healing. And during that process, I was like, you know what? Plastic surgery seems like a really cool lifestyle.
Yeah.
One, I was experiencing it through reconstructive work for our trauma patients because they would come over and do reconstructive work for our trauma people. And then 2, just lifestyle. I kind of saw the writing on the wall that being a general surgeon was going to mean long ER nights, gallbladders, appendixes, hernias, and just I didn't want to do that. So with plastics, what happened was I realized very quickly I could work with young babies, cleft palates, cleft lips. I could work on adults. I could do breast cancer reconstruction. I could do cosmetic surgery. I could do skin cancer reconstruction. It was such a broad, diverse field that I realized I could make what I wanted out of my plastic surgery life. I could work as much or as little as I want versus general surgery. You're at the beckoning call of the ER and getting patients. So it just made sense for me at the time, and I decided that after I finished general surgery that I was going to apply for an extra 2-year fellowship in plastics. So that's how it happened.
It sounds so decisive. Like you're like...
It sounds that way, but it wasn't always that way.
Like, did you have a lot of friction there that you had to work through?
For myself. You know, look, the friction I was working against was, number one, the hugest hurdle was a guy who didn't have incredible grades and then boom, got into general surgery. Awesome, huge feat. Then at that time, you know, plastic surgery is one of the most competitive fields in the surgical arena. Like, who was I to think that I was going to get in? So I went through some of that, but I've always said all along, I played to my strengths. This is what I'm good at. Conversation and talking and being authentic and real. So I was like, I'm just going to bring that forward. If I can just get interviews, like, I'll be good. And it all worked out.
So you mentioned your mom, that's who you went to. Do you still have a good relationship with her?
Oh, yeah, very tight. And my dad, too. But my dad was a bit more skeptical, just like the pre-med advisor, coming from a place of, not that he didn't believe in me, more from a place of, I've watched you struggle in school your whole life. I don't think you realize what you're up against. I'm praying for you and pulling for you, but like, I just don't understand like where your mind is. And I think in a good way, I was lobotomized a little bit and protected from realizing how difficult this journey was going to be, because what was overshadowing realizing how hard it was going to be was my drive to do it. Like my drive was so strong that this is what I was going to do that I didn't realize what I was up against.
Isn't that so, like, when you look back at it, you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
You know, it is. And I don't think I realized that until maybe 5 years ago.
Really?
It took me until a few years ago to realize what I did was special for me. What I did was not easy. But it's funny because I tell people all the time, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just decided I wanted to do something and I did it. And I know that sounds so simplistic. But really what it boiled down for me was I made a decision that this is what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to accept no for an answer.
I think that's true in everything that we do in life, though. It's like you can either listen to the voice that's negative and it's like, nope, Ricky, you're not smart enough, and go back to that special ed or whatever they labeled you at, or that other voice that is like deep desire, like, no, you can do this. Like, turn that other one off.
And it's hard for so many people to channel that they have to get the devil off the shoulder and listen to the angel. Look, I still go through that with trying to advance my practice and grow myself as an entrepreneur and have all these ideas. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that there are times even now where I'm like, dude, do I have what it takes to like pull this off, to grow this or build this? Like, I'm not what that guy is. They say comparison is the thief of joy. And it's really, and I still at this time in this, after all that I've accomplished for myself professionally, have moments of having to turn those voices off.
Really?
All the time.
And because in the practice of, are you comparing yourself against another surgeon?
I'm not comparing my skill set against other surgeons, because I think I'm a really good surgeon and I'm always trying to be better. It's more of, I think there's a little bit of that childhood learning disability confidence still that lives deep inside of me that says, am I smart enough to be a really intelligent business guy sometimes? I mean, I think that way.
So you've been married for 16 years.
16 years.
And tell me about your role that your wife plays in your entrepreneurship.
Well, my wife is an entrepreneur. Her name is Alexis. She's amazing. And so in the beginning, clearly supporting me through my residency training, and she is a dental hygienist. She just doesn't practice anymore. She started an overnight oats company, which I wish they delivered. Oh my God, how long are you here?
Until Monday.
Man, I would love to get you some of her oats. They're amazing. So her, she supported me through the whole, obviously the journey and coming out here, and she went to Northern Arizona here in AU, which is how we ended up out here. So, I mean, look, we support each other. She is the love of my life,
Mm-hmm.
an amazing woman, a strong woman,
Mm-hmm.
and a very determined woman. There's a lot of things that we have similar together and a lot of things that we're differently good at,
Mm-hmm.
but we support each other. And I think that's probably what has been the most successful thing about us is it's never been you support me, you support me, you support me, because that's how it was for a while through med school.
Yeah.
And now it's, hey, we are parents together, we
Yeah.
are business owners together, we work together, we make sacrifices for each other so that we can be successful. So she's my rock, man. She's my person.
Isn't it so good? Like I was telling you I was at the CEO conference, and a lot of us talked about that spouse that's in our life that's
Mhm.
there. And it's so nice to cheer them on when they're
Mhm.
pursuing something
Totally.
too. And to do life together.
Yeah.
And even with kids, like kids are beautiful and they're amazing, but it's like I need someone to do this with.
It's
It
hard.
gets crazy.
Shout out to the single moms and dads.
Yes.
It's not easy. How long have you
Yeah.
been married?
20 years.
Awesome. Yeah, my wife and I talk all the time about how special of a thing that we have that we never realized until we look at all the relationships around
Mhm.
us that are struggling. We have struggles too, right? Like
Of course.
we all do.
100%.
But I always tell people at the core of our relationship from day one when we met,
Mm-hmm.
we saw eye to eye on basic values.
Mm-hmm.
How we were going to raise our children, the fact that we wanted children together,
Mhm.
the kind of people we are, and what we stand for as human beings and as people in this world, we're the same.
Yeah.
So we have that foundation so that when we encounter arguments, which we all have, marital things and stress that come up, to us, they're more like speed bumps.
Mm-hmm.
They're just little
Right.
speed bumps that we kind of have to get through them, but the core is
Yeah.
there. The house, the foundation is there. I think that's what keeps us
Mm-hmm.
going strong.
And allows us, I think, to flourish as entrepreneurs and in business if that is sound. I mean, I can't imagine. I even feel if there is tension or if there is an argument, I'm off on the rest of my
Totally.
business, right? Like, oh, I just don't have something right today.
When she and I have even the slightest of a little tiff or something happens, it wrecks my day.
Yes.
Because I cannot stand, first of all, I hate controversy.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not a controversial person. And, but I don't like being unsettled, especially with the number one human in my
Yeah,
life. Like,
yes.
That just doesn't feel good.
So I hate controversy too. What do you do if someone is saying something and you don't agree with it? Are you someone that like jumps in and you're like, no, I don't, or are you like more sit back?
I'm more
process?
sit back, and I think that comes with maturity in life as
Yeah.
we get older, is going, well, maybe there's more than one way to slice this. Like
Yes.
maybe I'm looking at it from the wrong angle, or
Mhm.
even if I disagree with you, I can see your point of view and why
Mhm.
that is important in your saying and holding
Mhm.
your position. So I'm not a very come at people kind of guy.
Yeah, me neither.
I try to see both sides always.
And it's just not worth the energy. Like sometimes I feel we were at lunch last week and there was someone across the table who is a physician telling me just like everything opposite of what I believed in and like everything that I'm doing with my business. And like, it's not gonna go anywhere. Retailers aren't gonna want it. And I was gonna get up, like inside of me, it's like, get up, just leave this meeting, screw him. And I'm like, no, he's got an opinion too. And
Yeah.
I just had to take a deep breath and sort of push those feelings down. And I'm so glad I did, because once I moved past that, it ended up being a great meeting. And I think he was just trying to ruffle my
Yeah.
feathers.
No, it's really important to do that for sure.
So I see a book behind me, The Real Beauty Bible.
Yes.
I want to write a book.
Do
I
it.
have no idea how to start. Like, tell me, what did you do?
Okay, so where is it? The Real Beauty Bible. Here we
And
go.
is this Alexa in front?
I'm going to give you a copy. No, so many people ask me if
Oh,
that's my wife.
Really? It looks like her
Isn't
from
that
that
crazy?
picture. Doesn't it?
So
look-
yeah, the Real Beauty Bible.
Mhm.
It kind of does. And I'll give you a copy while
Okay.
you're here. We'll get you a copy.
Well, that's sweet. Thank you.
You should. What happened for me was I'd always wanted to write a book, and I was using a practice management company, and one of the speakers they had there that day was a company that helps people write books.
Hmm.
So you could do ghostwriting, you could write it yourself, and they'll edit it for you. There were all these opportunities.
Mhm.
So I was like, wow, this is my chance. Maybe this is how I'll do it. I'll try to either ghostwrite or just engage with a company that can help me do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I got the idea for the Real Beauty Bible was the deal was I wanted to create something. There's all this mystique around plastic surgery.
Yeah.
There's all this misinformation. There's scammers out there, people who will just do anything they can to make a buck and just to sign people up for surgery. And so I was listening to my people always asking questions that needed to be answered. How do I find a surgeon? What do I expect before surgery? How do I decide what surgery is right for me? So all these questions would come up over the years. And I decided to make a Bible for someone to be able to pick up and read through. And so it's broken up into 3 parts. The beginning parts are preoperative things to think about: financing, post-surgery blues, how you know, all the issues that surround wanting to have surgery. How do I discuss with my spouse that I want to have something done, right? Because all the stigma that surrounds doing something to your body.
Yeah.
The middle section goes through all the different procedures that you could have, just sort of focused on how do I know which one's right for me? What's a tummy tuck? What's a mini tummy tuck? What's lipo? How will that help? And then the third section of the book walks through literally what it feels like to go to the surgery center, get your IV, have the conversation with the nursing staff and the anesthesia staff. What does it feel like in recovery to being several weeks out and living in your new body? So I signed up with them, had a blueprint meeting. We blueprinted the whole thing out. I decided to have a ghostwriter because I didn't have time to write from scratch. But the way we did it was we spent probably anywhere between 10 to 20 hours on the phone going through her asking me questions. We came up with a table of contents, and then we went through all the topics. So she would write it, but then she would send it to me and I got to edit it. So I got to go through and be like, I wouldn't say it this way, I would say it this way. So I had the ability to participate. So it was really awesome. I'm proud of it. I probably haven't promoted it or pushed it as much as I could or should.
Yeah.
But we give one to every patient as a new patient gift.
That's so. And then how many of them actually read it?
A lot.
That's so
I've
good.
gotten amazing feedback. People are like, legit, it's an easy read.
Yep.
I feel so educated and knowledgeable after going through the book. And I think it's a really good read. It's on Kindle, it's on Audible, and obviously the hard copy, and it's on Amazon.
On Amazon. So how many hours, like from start to finish?
It took us a year.
A year.
It was a year of back and forth. Yeah, it was a year of back and forth. You should do it. What do you want to write about?
Entrepreneurship. And I want people to not look at risk as, not be risk adverse. I think people are really risk adverse. Like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. Yeah, it's scary. You should do it.
Yeah, everything's scary.
Sorry.
You can cut
I'm
it
not
out.
gonna cross my legs. I think that, and a lot of things that you've said, you aren't risk adverse.
Risk averse? I am. Look, I've played it safe in a lot of areas, and I don't play it safe in a lot of areas. I think, if you don't put your neck out there a little bit, you'll never reap the rewards. And you have to be willing to fail to succeed.
Yes.
That is a huge entrepreneurial tip that I would tell people that look, we use the big names all the time. Steve Jobs, Bezos, all those guys. However you feel about them, I don't care. But I can tell you, to get to where they are now, they have had their head chopped off multiple times. They have failed over and over and over until finally they figured out how to succeed.
Yeah.
So that's when I get DMs from young kids wanting to go into medicine and they're stressing out because they don't have good grades. That's what I tell them all the time. I go, look, number one, you need to be willing to fail in order to succeed. The lessons you learn from failure will teach you all you need to know to not fail one day.
Good for you, because more people should be encouraged to. I mean, it's sophisticated, it's complex. There's huge opportunities in healthcare and in medicine that I think people think, oh, it's just not for them. Like, if you grow up as, if you're Indian or if you're Asian, if you're Chinese, if you're from Singapore, you're either going to be an engineer or a doctor. There's only two options.
They guide them, yeah.
Right? And I think that puts an immense amount of pressure on them too.
Absolutely.
And American kids, I don't hear anyone really say, Lily wants to be a pediatrician and she's 12. I'm like, okay, great. I don't hear a lot of people say they want to do it anymore because they say they're not smart enough. Or I don't like to study.
It's
like,
you know where this all comes from, right? Parenting.
Yeah.
It's the way that we build our kids up. Yeah, they do get exposed to other kids, environmental things we can't control, but I think it comes from us giving them the confidence, showing them that they are worthy, showing them that they are good enough, letting them know that they're gonna fail and it's okay. It really starts at home, and I think just starting that mindset from day one is so vitally important, because I tell my kids, and they laugh when I say this, I'm like, I want you to fail. They're like, Dad, what do you mean? I go, no, I don't want you to fail in life. I want you to have moments of failure where you don't get something that you wanted really, really bad, because the lessons that you will learn in that moment, I always tell them what you do after you fail will define who you're going to become, not whether you fail or not.
Yes, we learn so much from them. How we react. You go the path of positive or negative. You're going to curl up into a little ball.
You're going to give up, or you're going to like go, oh, well, that didn't work out. Let me figure out why it didn't work out and how can I do better.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, for your medical practice, do you have outside investors, or do you always do
my private practice?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's your own.
Private practice since 2009. There may be some shifts in that coming eventually, branching out more into the chief medical officer world of a medical company. We'll see what happens. But for now, it's my private practice. It's always been my practice. And, you talk about putting your neck out there, and I've never put my neck out there for the whole med spa thing. One of the places I probably could have built more in my practice is the lasers and all the machines. But I decided there's a new freaking machine every 5 minutes. And personnel come and go, and you have to always have someone to run the machine. And I just was always skeptical of seeing other practices do this with their med spas. But I didn't want that risk averseness in my practice. We do injectables, and I have a couple of machines, but I've always kind of built my practice on doing good surgeries, treating people with kindness, delivering good care, building myself as a surgeon, and all that the other avenues of income I think are important, but I've been slower to build those than probably most people.
And your neck down.
Neck down. I made that decision probably 4 years ago. I just don't enjoy facial cosmetic surgery.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Doing what you want to do.
Yeah, and then it took, in the beginning I felt I had to do that because when you're not as busy, my practice was like all reconstructive. Then you get mostly reconstructive and some cosmetic, and then your cosmetic builds and you're like 50-50, and then it starts to flip the other way as you get older and more skilled and experienced. And I always keep my hands in both. But as in the beginning, I was like, I got to do the facelifts because it's just like I'm trying to build my practice, and I need to do those cases, and I did a great job at them. But I realized one day, I was like, every time I saw the upper or lower eyelid facelift, fat transfer, whole facial reconstructive procedure, cosmetic procedure, I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this today. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? You talk about risk. I was like, I'm going to cut that revenue out of my practice and see what happens. And guess what happened?
It blew up.
All the other stuff filled in.
It does.
And I didn't see that at the time. I was like, is it going to fill in? Like, am I going to have more cases like for body surgery? And it just happens over time.
A lot of things that we've talked about is like with core values, when you align your decisions with your core values, that is when like the magic happens in business and personal relationships, in your education, how you're feeling. I'm curious about your personal habits and things that you incorporate in your day that make you really a high performer.
Probably some of the common things you hear from all high performers. I'm an early riser. Recovering from hip surgery, I have not been an early riser, which has been hard for me. I get up between 4 and 5 every day. I'm an avid CrossFit guy. I love it. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I usually do some type of a workout between 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 in the morning every day. Have a little bit of breakfast, and then I either head off to clinic and head off to surgery. So that's a big thing for me, is being active, taking an active role in my nutrition, and trying to eat as healthy as I can and moving my body every day in some way. That's been a big deal for me, right? taking on new scary challenges. Jiu-jitsu. I started jiu-jitsu a year ago.
So
Very
cool.
daunting and scary,
Yeah.
but I'm like all in now and I love it.
Really?
I love it. I'm obsessed. It's amazing.
Awesome.
So I really, and my boy's been doing it for 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
I've been watching them do it and I'm like, I'm going to get on the mat one day. I'm going to get on the mat one day. And one day I just did it. And if you know anything about me, I don't half-ass anything.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Go big
so
or go
once I
home.
decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a black belt in 10 or 12 years. Like, this is happening. I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
So I enjoy that. So those are a couple of the habits, are moving my body, eating well. The other things that I like to do are, I think it's important to take time for yourself to do things like read. And I'm not a big reader, but my wife and I do the 75 Hard program every now and then,
yeah.
Andy Frisella's program.
Yeah.
And you have to read 10 pages out of an entrepreneurial type of a book every day. And when we're doing the program, I realize how much I've left on the table not reading.
Right.
Reading is so important in so many different ways. And I think especially reading the entrepreneurial type stuff, hearing about other successful business people stimulates not only my business world, but my relationship world. So, and I think that's the last thing I'll say that I've really worked on that's helped is my wife and I work on our relationship a lot. And that's more of late than it was before, meaning taking the time to like spend time with mental health people and individually exploring ourselves, and so that we can then explore ourselves together. I think those are the higher level things that have been really important to me. And the last thing I'll tell you, without dominating the conversation, is the whole idea of balance. It doesn't exist. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people out there feel is that successful entrepreneurs have such great balance in their life. Totally opposite. You need complete imbalance in order to achieve the grandiose things that you're trying to do. The question, the issue is that not that I'm spending more time on my business, growing my business, but that when I am spending time on being healthy and with my wife, it's quality time doing that. So it's not the quantity that you do it, it's the quality with which you participate in all of those different events, right? So you have to be, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur person in your business, you have to imbalance it towards your company.
100%.
There's no other way. There's no other way to do it. But I think it's just the quality with which you incorporate the rest of those things that makes it all, quote, balance.
Go big or go home. It's like everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like, why just dip your toe in the water? That's so lame.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people say go big or go home on things like, I don't know, partying or something. I'm like, really? Like, why were you putting your energy towards that? Like, why?
Alcohol is a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
We don't drink anymore. I mean,
I don't either.
we do, like, we will have a cocktail. I won't say that we're not drinkers. But I think what's happened as we've grown older, because we are such health nut fit people, I realize how bad I feel when I'm drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And I just, now if I even have a couple of drinks at nighttime, I wake up the next day feeling yuck, I can't sleep, I'm hot at nighttime. And that's, aside from that, I just think our society in general is full of functional alcoholics.
Yes.
Drinking has become, if you look at everything around us, it's like kids' parties, all sporting events, everything, you know, people say, oh man, we're just being social. Like, yeah, but when everything you do has to be surrounded by alcohol or beverages, it's a problem.
Agreed.
And so this is just personal for me. In my life and my wife's life, we have decided that alcohol is not a big part of our existence.
Yeah. I took it out October 26th of 2021, and my
Love
life
that.
totally changed.
Crazy.
I just realized, like, it was not connecting with my core value of health. Like, oh, I do all these healthy things, and then I go and drink, I would say 2 glasses of wine, but my pour was not 6 ounces, right?
Yeah.
It never is.
Daily or a couple times a week?
No,
or?
like a couple times a week. In every social interaction was that. And then I would wake up, I'm an early riser too, and I would just have that headache back here and be like, okay, just push through it. And then, 1 o'clock, you're kind of not feeling great. It just like, there are just ways, I think, that it inhibits your brain
100%.
and your body.
It's a depressant.
Yes.
People don't realize it is a depressant.
Yeah.
You are using a depressant, not an upper, a depressant.
Right.
So it's just, look, I'm not anti-drinking. I just feel like that it's overused and accepted overuse in society. And that to me is a problem. And I think we would have many more productive people if we could, curb the acceptance of using it so much.
You mentioned 75 Hard. I think that program is so simple that it's brilliant.
It's awesome.
because it's like, okay, so for 7, it's long enough
Mhm.
that you go through this emotional cycle of like, can I do this? And I have to admit, I have never been able to finish the 2 workouts a day part. That gets to be really hard for me, especially because I travel a lot.
Mhm.
But then I tell them, I'm like, gosh, you're making an excuse. You're making an excuse.
You kind of are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I've been there.
Yeah.
The first time before I did it, my wife started it with a friend of ours.
Mhm.
And for those of you who don't know, Andy Frisella, he used to be the MFCEO Project. Now it's Real AF is his podcast. He's great. A lot of people don't like him. I love Andy. I vibe with him.
Yeah.
I like him.
Do you know him?
No, but I'm hoping I'll probably meet him at some point. His
You need
brother
to.
Sal and I have texted multiple times on
Okay.
Instagram. I have friends who are first form athletes, so
Okay.
it's inevitable at some point that I'll get down there and meet them and
Yeah.
tour first form. But 75 hard is great. So I'll tell you, the first time when my wife started, I was like, "There's no way. I'm a surgeon. I don't have time. The second workout."
Right.
And so she almost finished it with a friend, and they had to bail for whatever reason. So a year later, we decided to do it together.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I've found myself walking around the airport parking lot at 11 p.m. after getting in from a flight to get in my 45-minute second workout.
Yeah.
You start to
that's
make it. You start to make it happen. You don't realize. The other thing that my wife and I do when we do it now is we make ourselves go for a 45-minute walk together for our second workout every night. And that time together is so unbelievably invaluable that you don't realize how much you can accomplish on a 45-minute walk with your spouse.
Yes. Not in front of the TV.
Not in front of the TV.
Not in front of your screens.
Like even if I'm listening to her from her day or she's listening to me from my day and her here, it's just quality time that we just talked about together. So 75 hard is great. A lot of people, it's gotten a lot of slack, but it's really, and Andy says this all the time, this is not a health and fitness program.
Yeah.
It is a mental program.
Yes.
Do you have the mental fortitude for 75 days to do all the things on the list?
So it's drink a gallon, 2 45-minute workouts, 1 outside.
Yeah, drink it. You have to 2 45-minute workouts, drink a gallon, read 10 pages out of an entrepreneurial book every day, take a photo every day, a progression photo. You have to, gosh, I gotta remember everything.
Follow your meal plan and no alcohol.
Fall meal plan, no alcohol.
The pictures is where I've fallen off, actually.
Yeah,
How
and
dumb
if
is
you
that?
forget any one thing by accident,
Yeah.
you have to start back at day 1.
Yes.
And I have done that once or twice where I got up the next morning and I'm like, I did not take my picture last night. So then what happens is you start to schedule things.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it every morning when I wake up for the next 75 days. That is what and you start to schedule everything. And you just look, there are plenty of times that my wife and I in the summertime are walking in the dark at 8 p.m. for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Because you got to get it done. I did it one summer and I got to I think it was day 67, 64, 67, can't remember, one of those. And I was at night, it was 11:30. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go get this done.
Yeah.
And I would get it done. And it does, I think, that refinement that it gives you and then that sense of accomplishment and I can do this again. We need those things in our life.
I think the commitment to yourself and accomplishing it, if you really do it the way that he says, you can't, there's no 75 hard-ish, he says. You do it the way you do it. It's supposed to be done or you don't do it. When we've done it twice or 3 times. The first time when we finished, I can't even tell you the euphoric feeling of making it to that day. We kept going. We were just like, why are we going to stop? I feel so good right now.
Yeah.
Why am I going to stop? It becomes a way of life. So, and then I almost made it through the Live Hard program.
What's in Live Hard?
So there's 3 more phases.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
So
that.
75 hard is the first phase for 75 days.
Okay.
Then for 1 month, you do everything in 75 hard again. And then you have to wait a month, I think. I forget the exact rules. You have to wait a month before you do phase 2. In phase 2, you add in a 5-minute cold shower every day.
Oh, that's what that is.
You add in the power list items. You do the power list in the first one, but you also add things to your power list. So I forget, you add a few things. Then, and then you either have to wait a certain amount of time again before you start phase 3, or no, phase 3 has to be completed by the 1 year mark that you started 75 Hard. And phase 3 is, in addition to everything in phase 2, you add more things to your power list. You have to do a random act of kindness every day. You have to add to several other things. So that's called the Live Hard program. It's a whole year. So I got through phase 2, and when it came to phase 3, I think I remember my wife and I had both done it. She couldn't do phase 3 for some reason, and I just didn't want to do it alone, and I just didn't complete it. But
doing it with your spouse makes a complete difference.
It helps.
See, this is when my husband Andy listens to this, then hopefully we're inspiring him
do it.
to you do it too, sweetheart.
It's amazing. I am so happy that we've done it as many times as we do, and we usually do it in the summer. We'll probably do it again this summer.
Yeah.
It is
hot here.
It is, but I'll tell you, man, we have weighted vests from CrossFit.
Yeah. Oh,
we'll
really?
sometimes do our 45-minute walk in our weighted vests, or whatever. Like I don't know. When you're into fitness and your spouse is into fitness, you just fitness.
Yeah, just kick it up a notch.
Fitness.
Just keep. Yes. You know what? Okay, so now you've inspired me. I'm gonna do it.
Do it.
I am, and it doesn't matter if I'm traveling because.
You have to work it in.
Yeah.
Listen, Andy will say this all the time on his podcast. There will never be a time for 75 days straight where everything will align perfectly such that you can do the program. You have to make the program work with wherever you're going and whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I heard him once say, unless you're in prison, it works really well.
That's right. And look, there were times that we did two 45-minute walks a day, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't go hard and do 2 hardcore 45-minute workouts 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So there were days where we would get up and walk at 5 a.m. together before work, and then we'd walk in the evening together.
Okay. See how that's inspiration? And you're the top. You're a surgeon. You can do it, right?
I'm not the top.
All of us can do it. But in our mind, like we were talking about that before we got on air, that in a society that when we look at high performers and who we respect and the amount of education and the rigor of your job.
At the end of the day, it's dedication, not motivation. Dedication is what gets you through things. Motivation comes and goes, right? There are days where you feel like doing something, you don't feel like doing something. There were plenty of days that I woke up on 75 Hard and I was like, I do not want to do all of this today. My dedication that burns deep inside of me was like, I am not quitting. So the motivation does this, but if you're dedicated, that's what carries you through on everything in life. So I think a lot of people focus on, I'm just not motivated. I'm like, well, I'm not either at times.
Yeah.
But I'm dedicated to getting where I'm trying to go.
That's a great place to end.
I love it.
Me too. That was like really sums up why I wanted to get to know you more, because I knew like deep down that was your values, what you felt in your
100%.
life. That's why you're successful.
And same for you. Like it's amazing. I mean, I love all the female entrepreneurs in the world. I think we've seen a huge pickup of female entrepreneurs in the past decade or more. And I love watching my wife be successful. I love watching women business owners be successful. I think it's really important. It's a great example for our kids. I think it's just a paradigm shift in society that is needed and is awesome.
Me too. And I think for women listening that you can still be an amazing mother.
Oh, yeah.
And an amazing business
You
owner.
can do it all. It is hard to do it alone, though, as you said. Like, it's hard, but there are a lot that do it.
And I use the hashtag stay married, because I think a lot of times people quit when there's beauty on the other side of getting through something.
The hard stuff.
And there's so much wonderfulness out of staying together.
I don't know about you, but I've never once had a thought of I made the wrong choice.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like it's never even been a thought in my mind. Like I married up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I married up big time.
That's awesome. I mean, I think having that cheerleader, my husband says the same thing, and it does feel really good from a female perspective, because I think that's an important role of a dad in your life, and you should be cheering your daughters on. And
absolutely.
Because you need to have, that's the difference in men and women too, right? Like we're inherently different, so we need that.
Both sides bring great value.
Yes, and we need to respect that.
Totally. Both sides bring incredible value from different perspectives and coming from different places in the way that men and women see the world,
The CEO of Citibank is a female, and she spoke to us last week, and her name is Jane, and she's a mom. She relocated from the UK during COVID. And she was so inspirational of, she has empathy, and especially during COVID, like coming to a totally different country, and then she was running mortgage, which she had nothing to know about mortgage. And she's like, problems were coming my way, and I listened, and I had empathy, and it was a huge organization, but I think that's why I'm in this place now, that I'm now leading the global business, because I didn't just shut off the spigot.
Love that.
Right?
Gotta have empathy for your employees. You gotta show them gratitude. You have to hear people. People that work in your company are not always motivated by money.
No.
A lot of people just want support and to be heard and made to be felt to be important.
Right.
Which everyone is important and seen.
Everyone, and uniquely themselves, like you said earlier, of aren't we all special? Aren't we? We all have learning disabilities in some way. Embrace it, and they also want to be acknowledged for they are different, or hey, you're accepted.
Any one person can do anything. There's always an army of people behind you that are helping make it happen.
Yes, just like here, we have Sam.
Always, that's right. We
Yeah.
have Sam.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Well, Dr. Brown, thank you so much for having me here. Your beautiful studio, and just getting to know you and about your life.
Thank you.
I'm very motivated now. So.
I love that, and I feel the same way, and I can't wait to continue our friendship and learning as much as we can about each other.
And let's just hope that TikTok stays so we can continue to.
I hope
and
so.
What is your Instagram handle? Because there's a little risk there, so let's go over to Instagram.
So it's Dr. Richard J. Brown.
Okay.
And then I don't really use Twitter. I have it, but I don't use it. And I'm on Facebook too. I think it's is it at Dr. Ricky? Dr. Ricky? God, I forget.
We'll put it on there.
Yeah, we'll get it for you. But but Instagram is my other bigger platform.
Okay.
And so those are the two that I use. And it's really interesting. Not many people cross over from TikTok. They did in the beginning, but that's all good.
You're going to do great.
And I'm on YouTube at Dr. Ricky.
Oh, yeah. Great YouTube, actually.
Yeah, Ricky, at DOCTR Ricky. We'll put them all in the link for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. And keep on persevering in business, because it is definitely worth it.